They called him the most hated player in baseball. In 1976, Mark Fidrych burst onto the scene as the Bird, a curly-haired rookie pitcher who talked to baseballs and crawled around on his hands and knees grooming the mound. America fell in love with him instantly. He won 19 games, led the entire league with a 2.34 ERA, and packed stadiums everywhere he went. To fans watching at home, he was a breath of fresh air during a dark time in American history. The Vietnam War had just ended, Watergate had destroyed trust in government, and cities like Detroit were struggling with crime and poverty. Fidrych seemed like pure joy wrapped in a baseball uniform. But there was another side to this story, one that didn't make it into the feel-good headlines. While casual fans saw a lovable eccentric, the game's toughest veterans saw something completely different. They saw a rookie showboating and disrespecting the sacred traditions of baseball. They saw calculated psychological warfare disguised as quirky behavior, and they were furious about it. The popular narrative says Mark Fidrych was an innocent kid whose career was tragically cut short by injury. But what if that's not the whole truth? What if his own actions, his own arrogance, and his own need for the spotlight directly caused his downfall? The rituals that made Fidrych famous were not as innocent as they seemed. Before every inning, he refused to let the groundskeepers do their job. Instead, he dropped to his hands and knees and meticulously smoothed out every cleat mark around the pitcher's mound. He patted down the dirt like he was tucking in a child. He repaired the pitching rubber with obsessive precision. This wasn't just about having a clean workspace. It was a deliberate delay tactic that forced batters to stand and watch while he put on a show. Then there was the talking to the baseball. Fidrych would hold the ball up to his face and have full conversations with it. He aimed it like a dart before every pitch. After giving up a hit, he would demand that the ball be removed from the game immediately. He would throw it back toward the dugout with disgust, explaining that the ball had a hit in it and needed to go goof around with the other balls so they could beat him up and smarten him up. Think about what that means. Every time an opposing player got a hit, Fidrych turned it into theater. He made sure everyone in the stadium knew he blamed the equipment, not his own pitching. After recording outs, Fidrych would strut around the mound like a peacock. He gave elaborate handshakes to his infielders. He even shook hands with the umpire. He turned routine defensive plays into celebrations of himself. All of this behavior had one clear effect. It kept the attention on Mark Fidrych at all times. The game wasn't about baseball anymore when he was on the mound. It was about watching the Bird perform his act. When reporters asked him about it, Fidrych had a convenient explanation ready. He, or Sami, claimed it was all just his way of staying focused. He said the constant movement and chattering helped him keep his mind in the game. Years later, researchers would suggest he probably had undiagnosed ADHD, and these were coping mechanisms. That sounds nice. That sounds innocent. But it doesn't change the fact that his behavior was extremely effective at disrupting his opponents. Whether he intended to or not, Fidrych had created a psychological weapon. Now is a great time to hit that subscribe button if you want to see more stories about the most controversial figures in sports history. And drop a comment below. Do you think Fidrych's antics were harmless fun, or were they a calculated insult to the game? The New York Yankees of the 1970s were known as the Bronx Zoo because of their volatile clubhouse and intense competitiveness. Manager Billy Martin ran a team full of tough, no-nonsense veterans who played the game the old-school way. They valued quiet intensity and professional grimness. Public displays of emotion or individuality were seen as disrespectful. Players were expected to focus on winning, not entertaining. The Yankees were the guardians of baseball's unwritten rules, and Mark Fidrych violated every single one of them. Thurman Munson was the face of that Yankees team. He was the reigning American League MVP in 1976. He was the team's first captain since Lou Gehrig retired in 1939. Munson had a steely glint in his eye and demanded methodical professionalism from everyone around him. When he saw what Fidrych was doing on national television, he was disgusted. Munson publicly called Fidrych's behavior bush, which in baseball terms means amateurish and unprofessional. It was one of the worst insults you could give a player. But Munson didn't stop there. He issued a direct threat. He told reporters that if Fidrych pulled that stuff in New York, the Yankees would blow him out of town. This wasn't trash talk. This was a warning. The Yankees were putting Fidrych on notice that his Detroit popularity would not protect him in the Bronx. If he showed up and started his circus act at Yankee Stadium, there would be consequences. Fidrych's response made everything worse. When asked about Munson's comments, Fidrych said he didn't know who Thurman Munson was. On the surface, this might sound like the honest answer from a small-town kid who didn't watch much baseball. Fidrych didn't own a television and didn't follow the sport outside of his hometown team. But think about the effect those words had. Thurman Munson was the reigning MVP. He was the captain of the Yankees. He was one of the most respected players in the game. And this rookie acted like Munson was irrelevant. Whether Fidrych meant it as an insult or not, that's exactly how it landed. He had just dismissed the authority of one of baseball's most powerful figures. The Yankees responded with psychological warfare of their own. Greg Nettles, the team's third baseman, decided to fight. Fire with fire. During an at-bat against Fidrych, Nettles jumped out of the batter's box and started having an intense conversation with his own bat. He told the bat to ignore whatever the ball was saying and just hit it over the outfield fence. The message was clear. If Fidrych wanted to turn baseball into theater, the Yankees would mock him right back. Willie Randolph, the Yankees' second baseman, revealed the true psychological damage Fidrych's antics caused. Randolph admitted that he was distracted during his plate appearances against Fidrych. He couldn't focus on hitting because he was forced to stand there and watch this elaborate performance. The frustration built up so intensely that Randolph told reporters he wanted to send a line drive right through Fidrych's head. A professional athlete known for his calm demeanor was so psychologically disrupted that he expressed a violent desire to eliminate the source of his distraction. That's not a normal reaction to facing a good pitcher. That's the reaction of someone whose mental preparation has been completely sabotaged. Fidrych's commercial success gave him immunity from the usual methods of policing rookie behavior. Normally, a veteran player or manager would pull a flashy rookie aside and tell him to tone it down. But Fidrych was too valuable to discipline. In his 18 home starts in 1976, the Tigers averaged over 33,000 fans per game. When he didn't pitch, attendance dropped to less than 14,000. The team was terrible that year, finishing with a losing record, but Fidrych's starts alone brought in nearly half of the stadium's total attendance for the entire season. Teams around the league actually requested that Detroit rearrange its pitching rotation so Fidrych could pitch in their ballparks. This meant that enforcement of the unwritten rules fell entirely to the opposing players. On August 29, 1976, Gene Tenace of the Oakland Athletics decided to deliver that message physically. Tenace was a veteran catcher and first baseman. During the game, Fidrych was running to cover first base on a ground ball. As he approached the bag, Tenace delivered a forearm shiver directly into Fidrych's body. This wasn't an accident. This was a deliberate physical message. Your act has consequences. And here's where Fidrych's innocent persona completely shattered. The lovable, goofy kid who just wanted to have fun on the mound? He disappeared. Fidrych threatened Tenace directly, saying that if there hadn't been men on base, he would have decked him right there. This was the real Mark Fidrych showing through. He wasn't some naive country boy who didn't understand what he was doing. He knew exactly what he was doing. He knew he was pushing boundaries. He knew he was provoking opponents. And he was fully prepared to fight about it. Now here's the lie they told you about his downfall. The standard story is that Mark Fidrych was an innocent victim of managerial exploitation. Poor kid got overused, hurt his arm, and that was that. Bad luck. But that's not the whole truth. The real truth is that Fidrych's own arrogance and need for the spotlight created the conditions that destroyed his career. The commercial frenzy around Fidrych was his own creation. His antics made him a gate attraction. Teams demanded he pitch in their stadiums. Fans demanded to see the bird perform. Manager Ralph Houck faced immense pressure to maximize Fidrych's starts because the franchise desperately needed the revenue. In 1976, Fidrych completed 24 games. He frequently pitched on short rest during the second half of the season. This workload was unsustainable for a young pitcher with a lanky 175-pound frame. In 1977, the consequences arrived. Fidrych first tore cartilage in his left knee during spring training. Then came the career-ending injury, a torn rotator cuff. The injury went undiagnosed and untreated throughout his playing years. He pitched through the pain trying to maintain his status as a star. He pitched his last major league game on October 1, 1980. The rotator cuff injury wasn't properly diagnosed until 1985 when Dr. James Andrews finally performed surgery. By then, it was far too late. Fidrych never started more than 11 games in any season after 1976. His entire major league career consisted of just 5 seasons and 58 games. If modern pitch counts and diagnostic technology had existed in the 1970s, his career might have been saved, but the point is that his own behavior created the commercial pressure that led to his overuse. He could have toned down the act. He could have focused on pitching instead of performing, but he didn't. He fed the frenzy, and the frenzy destroyed him. After his playing career ended, Fidrych returned to his hometown of Northborough, Massachusetts. He lived a quiet, humble life on a 107-acre farm. Despite his former celebrity status, he worked as a contractor, hauling gravel and asphalt in a 10-wheeler truck. He helped out at his mother-in-law's diner. He coached local youth baseball teams. The man who once demanded the spotlight now lived in complete obscurity. On April 13, 2009, Mark Stephen Fidrych died at the age of 54. His death was ruled an accident. He was found pinned underneath one of his Mack trucks. It appeared that his clothing became entangled in the power takeoff shaft while he was performing maintenance, leading to suffocation. Despite all the professional animosity he generated, despite all the veterans who despised his act, Mark Fidrych made an enduring impression on the history and culture of baseball. His story is a reminder of the fragility of athletic talent and the high price of fame. His teammate Willie Horton said that Fidrych brought baseball back to the people, made it popular again, and helped save the game. That's his real legacy. Fidrych proved that individuality and charisma could coexist with elite performance. He changed the tolerance level for personal expression on the pitcher's mound. Whether you loved him or hated him, you couldn't ignore him. If you enjoyed this deep dive into one of baseball's most controversial figures, make sure you're subscribed. Thanks for watching.